Let me just quickly go through the stages. I'm going to do it very brief, okay? So every child starts way in the middle, okay? Every child starts at point 1 and develops through its life. Where we start is red. Is my big one is, my big daughter is about for half a year now. She's on a red stage, I would say. So she's very aware of her needs, very much. And her needs are the most important thing in the world, okay? You know this, you know this stage. You find it in adults very rarely. You find it usually in sort of the shady parts of town. There's lots of criminality. There's lots of drugs, of Gewalt, violence. So not really part of our world anymore. We try to get out of it as much as we can. Each one of us holds this red thing in us. It's part of our, just as cells and organs are part of ourselves, red is part of ourselves. This is going to become important later. The next one, amber, is the conventional one, very rule-driven one. So an amber person has a clear role and knows the rules, and it acts in the world like this. Think of the police, for example. They have clear rules, and they will follow them strictly. This gives them a lot of security. I'm not saying they are amber, but the structure is amber. The rule gives them security. Okay? In our collective past, this was like the Middle Ages. So this was the church decides what is right and what is wrong and what is absolutely right. There is no relativizations. Okay. Next one was is the rational stage, orange. People started with Archimedes and Kepler and people like that. They started to think rationally about their environment. So they started to do experiments, and that was like a huge thing in our past. So the whole Industrial Revolution, that was the start of orange, taking real hold. So suddenly we have something like empirical truth. We can do an experiment, we can check it, okay, we know it's right. That's how orange finds truth. We find it in the big organizations, you know, the big companies. They are very success-driven. What is most important is what is true and what is efficient and what brings us value. Orange. Green, for the first time, takes into account and really takes into account emotions. So what is important is not just what brings me money, because how do I know money makes me happy? Because ultimately I want to be happy. I want to have good relationships. I want to have a harmonic environment, a harmonic workplace. I want to be emotionally safe. I want to be seen by my peers. This started in the 60s. It was a revolution again. So things like environmental issues suddenly came to the top, because green, it was the first stage to see them, to see that orange was failing hugely on the planet, and on health, and on minorities, and on marginalized opinions, and so on. Then, I can't say then comes teal, because it's not yet fully established. So we are here, just those guys were probably did something like we are doing now in the 60s. So they came together and they started discussing, hey, what's this new thing, these new ideas? This is very revolutionary. Okay, we have to topple the old world. We can make it so much better. This is what we're going to do for teal. Teal, I want to say the most important thing about teal, it realizes where it came from. It sees developmental differences. It sees these traits and feels it inside of itself. So I see the conservative priest that is a pain in the ass for me, but at the same time I feel that part in me, and I know that I came from there. I was once like that, and I just saw that it's not all. And teal sees this has to go on. This is not the top stage. What tells me that I'm on the top? It's just right now it's the top one, or the top one that I can see, but it's probably going to go on. Does that make sense?
So, sorry, is it just like to demonstrate that it goes on, or did people already define a turquoise state?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's actually very well defined. What we can say that some questions we cannot answer. We cannot answer, for example, how does an infrastructure on turquoise look like? Because we don't see more than like 3 people on turquoise together, so they can hardly build an infrastructure. Whereas on teal, we can say, I mean, you're standing in what could very well be a teal infrastructure here. And we can say how it differs from one on green or orange.